Last episode, we plunged deep into the Castle Street saga. We met Nicole Foster. Nicole, exhausted from her multiple positions and caring for Miss Mabel, her frail, ailing grandmother. She unintentionally stumbles upon a protest on Castle Street. While testing a camera lens for a side hustle, she captures heated exchanges between residents and a city official. The 90-second video she posts goes viral. Also, there's Mateo Carter, a dynamic, fiercely intelligent community activist shrouded in secrecy. And finally, Mr. Daniel Thomas, the morally conflicted representative for the powerful real estate magnate Mr. Langston Jr., who's clearly struggling with his own inner demons. Their paths are deeply intertwined within the Castle Street narrative. Nicole, ever present with her camera, becomes the focus of Mateo's intense demands, despite them being strangers. Or are they? And through it all, Miss Mabel drifts, barely aware of the escalating drama around her. This story is so dense with intriguing and unanswered questions, it's difficult to know where its true beginning lies. Nicole Foster never set out to save anything. She wasn't a hero, just exhausted. At 26, she had survival down to muscle memory. Rise before dawn, deliver overpriced lattes, non-fat, 2 shots of espresso, steamed milk, to hollow-eyed tech bros in Midtown who barely looked her in the eye. Pray for a tip, nap with one eye open on the train, then slip behind the wheel of a sleek black limo to chauffeur a wealthy family around the city, sometimes until the clock struck midnight. And somewhere between the blur of shifts and strangers, she'd find time to visit her grandmother, the only person left who remembered her childhood. Nicole would cook, lay out pills with aching precision, and pretend everything was fine while the walls of her world pressed closer every day. Nicole is a weary but sharp Brooklynite, juggling multiple jobs to care for her ailing grandmother. She's very attractive in an understated way, with brown shoulder-length hair usually pulled back into a practical ponytail, because who has time to primp? Her eyes are a striking light brown flecked with gold. They are windows to the fierce spirit beneath the exhaustion. She generally goes barefaced, no time for makeup, though she really likes it. But a 4:30 a.m. schedule doesn't permit such extravagance. She's usually dressed casually in jeans and t-shirts. The one adornment she never takes off is her mother's gold hoop earrings, a cherished link to a past she holds close. Nicole hides her figure under baggy clothes, just like she hides her disappointment about her desire for storytelling. That elusive dream sometimes peeks out from behind layers of sarcasm, caffeine, and survival instincts. She's built walls around a girl who once dreamed of telling those meaningful stories on the theater screen. Her history is colored with heartbreak. Father left when she was 10. Her mother died of cancer at 16. Raised by Mabel, the house was filled with old jazz records, relics of a happier time and stories Nicole barely believed. Her film school dreams faded beneath mounting medical bills and practicality, which forced her to shelve her passion. But when Nicole's camera unintentionally captures more than protests, it stirs buried memories and unearths truths. As the story unfolds, her quiet faith begins to reawaken, teaching her that healing can start even when wounds run generational. She wasn't looking for a fight or a cause, but sometimes life doesn't ask. It just demands. Ms. Mabel, 81, Nicole's grandmother, used to sing jazz in the backrooms of Brooklyn clubs. With early-stage dementia, now mostly hums the same 2 bars of a forgotten tune, staring out the window like it could remind her of who she was. Her forgotten memories hold the key to a dark family truth. She lives suspended between eras, sometimes lucid, sometimes lost. But music is her anchor. The city had changed. Mabel's mind was changing. And Nicole, she was stuck, circling the corners of her imagination, ending up with dreams that led to dead ends. The camera was supposed to be a side hustle. Her friends encouraged her to offer wedding photography. Later, edit the reels. Maybe one day she might actually make a real film. One morning, while testing a new lens on Castle Street, Nicole unknowingly stumbled into a bona fide protest. Neighbors waving signs, shouting about preservation and community. Across from them stood a polished man in a suit, Daniel Thomas, Mr. Morris Langston's representative. Mr. Langston was widely known as a wealthy real estate developer, primarily focused on developing the area known as Castle Downs. It was once known as a upscale community years ago. Much of the architecture in the area was European in design, with motifs reminiscent of historic castles. Mr. Langston had interests in the community, therefore he dispatched Daniel to protect his interests and learn the true intent for the protests. Daniel Thomas, 40. Langston's slick representative, PR trained, and morally ambiguous. Not evil, but not unwilling to protect powerful interests. He is the loyal, sharply dressed public face of the Langston real estate empire, but beneath the corporate polish is a man walking a moral tightrope. Daniel grew up in Atlanta, the son of a school principal and a civil rights lawyer. His parents believed deeply in justice, but their ideals didn't always pay the bills. A gifted speaker and natural strategist. Over time, he became Langston's most effective fixer, able to talk, down lawsuits, neutralize opposition, and manage city officials with a smile. His moral conflict. Daniel doesn't see himself as corrupt. In his mind, he's building progress and cleaning up blight. But Castle Street starts to shake that belief. Nicole, not as familiar with the Langston Empire, was just testing her new lens, only to capture unintended footage of the protest. And other details. She kept rolling the tape, not out of purpose, out of habit. Back home, she cut a quick 90-second clip, threw it on her barely followed Insta page, and forgot about it. By the following afternoon, it had 500,000 views. Was it you that shot the protest video over on Castle? Mateo Carter asked, with a slightly noticeable Latin accent when he tracked Nicole down at the coffee shop. He had put feelers out all over the neighborhood. You captured what we couldn't. You showed the truth. She looked at him curiously, thinking, who is this and what does he want? Nicole responded with an unimpressed and unconcerned look. I just happened to be there. Mateo then realized he hadn't introduced himself. Hello, my name is Mateo Carter. I'm here because of the rampant injustice in the community. He noticed Nicole remained genuinely unmoved, realizing he'd better get straight to it. No one just happens to be where it matters, he stated, a touch more direct. Are you in or not? This is really important to all of us. He then laid out his request. Will you document the fight for Castle Street? It sounded more like a command than an invitation. It's the last block in the neighborhood untouched by these unaffordable luxury condos and overpriced wine bars. Where will our neighbors go? Many longtime residents can't afford the move, financially, emotionally, or physically. At first, she pushed back, citing bills, responsibilities, and a sick grandma. She simply had no time. It seemed that their two strong, opinionated personalities seemed to clash right from the beginning. Mateo Clark, 31, moved with the fire. Of determination and purpose, but not with arrogance, a man who walks like he's already won the argument. He's of Puerto Rican descent, standing an imposing 6'1" in stature, with a medium but muscular build that speaks of discipline, not vanity. His deep brown skin, jet black hair, and a well-kept beard framed a face that carries humility, intensity, and compassion. Tattoos peek from under his sleeves, stories inked in silence. He dresses sharp but casual, with boots worn just enough to show they've seen their share of work. Once a youth pastor, now a bold community organizer and documentary filmmaker, Mateo is charismatic and principled, the kind of man who commands a room without trying. His past is a quiet shadow, complex and not fully revealed, until it begins to intertwine, unavoidably, with Nicole's. Mateo's reappearance to Castle Street feels low-key, but layered with quiet motivation. He scouts filming locations. Really, he's retracing his father's steps. Mateo's reappearance to Castle Street feels low-key. Mateo moved to Queens after his father's demise and poured his soul into small window front church, rising as a youth pastor, passionate, hopeful, magnetic. His sermons gave voice to the voiceless. As he heard of the plight of his childhood home, he felt the call to lend his voice to the fight. He returned to Castle Street, not as a preacher, but as a documentarian, camera in hand, truth in his crosshairs. He began filming the neighborhoods no one else would, organizing, testifying, exposing the very machine that erased his father. His vow was simple, unshakable. We may not win every fight, but no one will ever say we didn't speak. Hidden truth. His own father was evicted during the Castle Downs. Redevelopment under Langston Sr., now deceased. A displacement that led to his father's death.
Meanwhile, Nicole pondered the unexpected invitation to the social event of the season, the annual Langston Charity Gala for the Children's Hospital. She had never attended anything so grand. She was half-heartedly excited, pretending to be unmoved. Mateo simply scoffed. The charity ball was a dazzling display of wealth and status, held in the grand ballroom of the Astoria Hotel. The room was a cathedral of opulence. High arched ceilings, massive crystal chandeliers casting golden light across polished marble floors, and tables dressed in white linen and glittering glassware. Waiters floated by with silver trays of hors d'oeuvres that no one seemed to eat, and the live quartet played easy listening music that added an elegance to the atmosphere. But beneath the glamour, there was something colder, calculated. Eyes watched from across the room, measuring worth with a glance. Conversations were short and strategic, smiles tight and rehearsed. It wasn't just a party, it was a performance. And Nicole could feel it in her bones. She had arrived prepared, her dress carefully chosen, her hair perfect, her posture practiced. Still, as she moved through the room, she felt the subtle shifts around her. Shoulders turning slightly away, glances exchanged just out of her peripheral vision. Every polite smile seemed laced with unspoken judgment. Then there was Damon. He'd appeared like a warm draft in a cold corridor, his tone easy, his attention sincere. There was a softness in his eyes that didn't match the sharp, almost predatory vibe of the Langston crowd. He admitted he was new to the firm, and though he said little outright, he hinted that something at the Langston group was off, carefully hidden. Controlled, she said little outright. He hadn't expected to enjoy herself. But then Damon appeared, out of nowhere, charming, attentive, warm in a sea of iciness. His timing had been perfect. Too perfect. He said he was new to the Langston group. He spoke carefully, offering just enough to pique her curiosity without revealing much at all. He hinted at secrets, shadows behind the company's polished facade. But now, in the sober light of morning, Nicole couldn't shake the feeling that she'd been maneuvered. That Damon's interest in her wasn't as spontaneous as it had seemed. Nicole had barely begun to relax in his company when an older man, clearly a senior executive, appeared out of nowhere and summoned him with a firm hand on the shoulder and a low, murmured word. Damon gave her an apologetic smile and promised to find her again. He disappeared behind a heavy door. He didn't return. Left to her own devices, Nicole did what she always did, observed, listened, searched. She noted who moved with authority, who avoided whose gaze, who laughed too loudly at the wrong moment. She was scanning the perimeter when Mr. Langston and his wife approached. Their conversation was brief, choreographed, like dancers in a ballet neither of them enjoyed. Mr. Langston said little beyond the standard pleasantries. His wife, however, smiled with ice in her eyes. She complimented Nicole's dress, then with a saccharine tone added a remark about how refreshing it was to see someone in something so affordable. A veiled insult wrapped in pastel politeness. Nicole nodded politely, her smile fixed. Around her, a few guests chuckled, not enough to make a scene, but just enough to signal their alignment, that she didn't belong, that she was being watched. The air around her grew heavier with scrutiny. The music sounded sharper, more distant. A man at the bar whispered something to his companion, both of them glancing her way. A server passed without offering her a drink. The sense of being the subject of some unspoken verdict settled over her like a weighted cloak. Feeling the isolation close in, Nicole excused herself from the gathering. Her heels clicked softly across the marble as she slipped through the grand doors, her spine straight despite the burn of humiliation just beneath her skin. Nicole hadn't planned to tell Mateo about Damon. She already sensed Mateo's mounting frustration. The set of his jaw told her he hadn't secured the cooperation, or the information he'd hoped for. As the morning unfolded, the unexpected occurred. An encounter with Mr. Thomas, Daniel Thomas. There was something quietly menacing about him. He never said anything outright, but Nicole could read between the lines. His words were carefully chosen, delivered with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "It would be such a shame," he said softly, "if something were to happen to one of the homes, while our neighbors are making their decisions about the sale and their settlements. Because then, well, there wouldn't be anything left." "That would be so sad," he added, his tone mockingly tender, as if he genuinely cared. Nicole was quietly appalled by his reference to our neighbors, as if he was an ally or an advocate. However, she was clever enough to keep her response short and neutral. Nicole left the conversation with a chill running down her spine, because she was beginning to see that there was a much bigger picture than she originally suspected.
Now that Mateo thinks he's found an unwitting accomplice to unearth the dangerous buried secrets, he's hoping she is motivated enough to uncover the truth, the uncharted, unanswered questions he can't touch himself. But is Nicole aware of the potential peril she faces if she does get involved in this mission? Nicole is nobody's fool. The question is, what would prompt her to accept this challenge? Could her unwavering desire to become a filmmaker influence her decision? And is Mateo merely using her naivete regarding the formidable Langston family empire, and the lengths Langston Jr. will go to protect their legacy and their millions? Join us next time as we dive deeper into the mysteries of Castle Street. Will Nicole unintentionally pull back the curtain on the mysterious and dangerous truth? And if and when she uncovers it, a big if, will she realize she was deceived from the start? Please be sure to like, share, and hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss a single answer to these perplexing questions.
Hello, Nicole here. Truth be told, I'm tired. Tired of the whispers, the side eyes, the lies, dressed up as truth. But we're just getting started. The next few episodes, things get really real. The threats, they're not just talk anymore. They're calculated, quiet, but dangerous. And now they're saying I made all this up, calling it fake news, reports that scream legal action. Not to mention, I'm not sure about Damon either. Is he for real or is he a plant? But here's what they didn't expect. I kept all the receipts, and just when I thought I knew who was really my partner Mateo, turns out he's been holding on to a secret that looks like betrayal. He never shared why he left his former life or position. He always changed the subject. I'm not sure who to trust anymore. My God, what should I do? I'm in too deep to turn around now. This isn't just drama, it's personal. And when the truth finally is revealed, some folks won't just walk away without paying a price. As loyalties are tested, emotions will run high, leaving ashes in their wake. The next few episodes will leave you speechless. You will be intrigued,